Hi, good morning. Welcome to Step Up Nigeria's podcast. This is an initiative built to create awareness of governance issues that highlights the cost of corruption and its impact on service delivery. It is also aimed at promoting values that will help build a society with people of integrity and provide solutions to service delivery challenges faced by everyday Nigerians. My name is Vanessa Emadi. Please kindly introduce yourselves.
Hi, Vanessa. I'm Fermi Adiola, Senior Program Associate, Step Up Nigeria.
Thank you.
Hi, Vanessa. I'm Halima, Junior Program Associate, FCT.
Thank you.
Hi, Vanessa. David Ainde here. My pleasure to be here. Senior Programs Associate, Step Up Nigeria.
Thank you.
Hello, Vanessa. My name is Martha, Junior Program Associate, Step Up Nigeria, Lagos State.
Okay.
My name is Adenike Bamibade, Program Manager, Step Up Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Zainab Haruna, Program Director.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'll be taking lessons learned from building future leaders to act with integrity. David, what are some key challenges faced in 2021 and how were we able to overcome them?
I'll say one of the major challenges, thank you, Vanessa. It's good that we highlight these things so that people see some of the challenges faced in this space and how we have been able to overcome them despite all of those things. One of the major challenges we faced, which we are still in maybe some sort of the heat of it, is the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic. When we resumed this year, we had lockdown of schools, which was a major channel, one of the major channels of our engagement. And we had difficulties of actually trying to reach out to these children. So we had to go through the process of waiting, try some online engagements, which wasn't so effective because children really get distracted. But then we're lucky enough that after some time, we got the federal government lifts the ban, we got students back in school, and then we actually hit in so hard, getting so much. We even recorded milestones achievement as a result of this. We even went as far as engaging teachers, which we mentioned earlier, because teachers were also locked at home and we couldn't reach them. But we got that platform and we effectively trained teachers who have also resumed in training students in their classrooms as well, because we had so much time to actually teach them. So I'll say yes, that was one of the major challenges that we had, and then we were able to surmount that really well. Thank you.
David. Halima, what about you?
Okay, so building on what David said earlier, so due to the pandemic, schools were not really interested in giving us much time to engage with the children. So we had limited time engaging with the children. And what we did was when we go for engagement, we were able to make sure we highlight key messages to the children within the time frame schools gave us, and that actually showed in our evaluation results. We saw more improvement in children showing more understanding of corruption, even though we had very limited time to do a lot of the explanation. But facilitators were able to hone on the key messages for children to so that they would assimilate that.
That's really interesting to hear. Martha.
Oh, hi, Vanessa. Yes, I would say one of the challenges we faced in this 2021 is the Twitter ban. And yes, I would say it has actually limited the application of our works, because Twitter social platform media is one of our major way where we try to bring out our work and let the world, yes, the way we amplify our work. And also, I would say it has actually affected our book sales too, because majority of our bookstore actually uses Twitter to with their let me say with their sales. And then so because one of the bookshop actually had that conversation with us that the Twitter ban had a long way in affecting their book sales, which one way or the other also affected us too. And then I would also say the security in some of the states, majorly cardinal state. I can remember there was this time we were trying to do one of the events, that's the physical verification for the anti-corruption star award, and the cardinal coordinator had to like make the plan back that, oh yes, there is insecurity here. So I feel one way that we were able to be able to tackle that was through proper planning. She had to like, oh yes, if you're going to think places like this, you have a proper planning, you time yourself, you know that, oh, within this minute, you're there and you try to just achieve what you want to do and then leave that spot. And also she's always like, oh, on the social media to just probably any kind of news and just be, let me say, security conscious. Everyone was kind of security conscious. So if there's any arises, everyone, all the team had to leave that place. So proper planning has actually helped us in times of the insecurity wise in some of the states. Thank you.
Okay, so Zainab.
Thank you, Vanessa. For me, I would say one of the key challenges that we faced this year was the disruption that happened as a result of the Twitter ban in Nigeria. A lot of our work in amplifying our work, we use our social media a lot. So our social media is sort of like an extension of our, our channels that we have, which include YouTube, the podcast. Social media is also an avenue where we share what we've done, but also sort of use it to educate people who follow us on social media on how they too can also take up actions and challenge the status quo around corruption. And Twitter has always been one of our biggest engagement platforms. But as a result of the ban, it meant that the community that we had built there, we could no longer reach that community. So that was a key challenge for us. We were a bit handicapped in the sense that we could not reach people who we had previously reached. Even a large part of our sort of like our donor community, other CSOs follow our work very actively on Twitter, and they could no longer reach us. So we used that opportunity to start developing the other platforms that we had available to us, our Facebook, our LinkedIn. I think we leveraged LinkedIn a lot this year. So we started expanding our Instagram as well to see how we could now start, building communities in other platforms besides Twitter, where which had been like our really strong, a really strong platform for us. But it was and remains a big challenge for us at Step Up.
Thank you, Zainab. Nike, what about you?
All right, thank you, Vanessa. I would say in 2021, one major challenge which was very critical to the work that we do was our access to children beyond those in school. Because we don't want to leave any child behind, and our anti-corruption education is very important. We want every child to benefit. So it's been a recurring challenge, and this year also amplified it as well. We tried reaching out to organizations working with out-of-school children and also organizations that work with children living with disabilities. So it was as if we've somewhat exhausted this list of organizations, whereas when we look around us, we see a lot of children out of school, we see a lot of children who are living with disability, but the key thing is we don't have the platform where we could bring them together. So that's been the major challenge. So we have these children all about, and I want to use this opportunity to say, if the organizations that work with out-of-school children within our targeted states, please, you can always partner with Step Up Nigeria. We have all our materials that would want to use to reach out to extend anti-corruption education to these children, because they are also key members of the society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nike. And so, Fermi.
I thought you weren't going to call on me at all to answer this one. But I would like to add, just following from what Nike said, a challenge we faced as an organization We also try to target children who live with disabilities. And so in this year, we had sessions with children who are deaf, children who are blind, children with mild autism, but just children generally who have special needs. And with any special needs child, the approach in educating them has to be different from the regular children in school. And so for us, the difficulty was trying to decide, or the challenge was, how do we read Emeka's money story? How do we tell Emeka's story or Halima's story to a child who is blind or to a child who is deaf? And I think things we've done as an organization is try to adapt. So for example, Answer Speech, the audiobook, was actually released earlier on this year. And we also have audiobooks of our other storybooks. And those audiobooks, we've used them to, interact with children who, are blind, but they can hear. So the blind children have used the audiobook as a means to get this anti-corruption education. And the children who are deaf are also able to read the storybook. And then we partnered with their school to ensure somebody was in the room to translate and use sign language to ensure that the communication was made. For children who had mild forms of autism and cerebral palsy and things like that, we found that using our anti-corruption film, because of the sound, the visuals, was the easiest way to communicate the anti-corruption lessons with those children. And so it was really adapting the tools that we had already created to meet the needs of special needs children. I think that was a challenge we faced and something we surmounted. And just to add at this point that the proof of that is, in this year, when we held our 2021 Anti-Corruption Star Awards, we actually had 3 nominees who were children living with disabilities. We had 2 children who were deaf and 1 who was blind. And check out their videos, honestly, and I think everyone listening should head to Step Up TV. The playlist is called Anti-Corruption Star Awards 2021. And we see that although the children are deaf and blind, the use of the reading of the storybook as well as the audiobook has actually inspired these children to take action against corruption. And so adapting of our tools was quite useful in reaching children with special needs.
Okay, thank you so much, Fermi. What lesson did you learn in 2021?
Okay, so again, like we've achieved so much, like we've all said, and in the previous podcast that we held, we spoke about how many things that we did this year. But one of the things that we learned, which will feed into something that we'll be launching next year, and we'll talk more about what we're bringing to you next year in another podcast, but it was the importance of reaching all the influences of children. By that, I mean, we learned that children, they learn from their parents, they learn from their teachers, they learn from TV, they learn from social media. And what we've been able to achieve is to attack all their means of influence. So what we do in schools is we go and meet children in schools, educate them, and we also educate their teachers to ensure their teachers continue teaching anti-corruption education to them. What we also did when we partnered with radio stations was working with radio to share content and have like kiddie shows on radio, which we had at Petals FM in Ibadan. We also had that at Nigerian Info, Love FM, a couple of other radio stations that used our tools to have targeted content for children. We FM in Abuja as well. We had an online debate for kids. And so it was okay, they listen to radio, let's put something on radio. And we've also partnered with Pineapple TV, like I said. So children watch TV a lot. They like cartoons, they like sound. Pineapple TV has been able to use their platform to amplify cartoons and that kind of content, so kids get anti-corruption content through their television as well. And then now we thought, we've gotten their school, we've gotten their, radio, we've gotten TV, what else can we do? And we've learned now the importance of getting the buy-in of parents in anti-corruption teaching. And so that leads us to, in next year, we're launching the Parent Anti-Corruption Champions Initiative. And that's because we've seen we need to get the home as the center from anti-corruption teaching. And the only way to do that is to start with the parents. So yeah, a key lesson we learned is, to try and change the overall behavior of young people, we need to attack all their spheres of influence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fermi. That was a very great lesson learned. Martha, what lessons did you learn in 2021?
Thank you, Vanessa, for that. I'll say one major lesson I feel we at Step Up we learned was that that the quality of our work, of our approach is actually good, and we've seen it, it's evident. We've seen it that it has facilitated a lot of partnership, even those that we really did not foresee. And I would point that out majorly in the partnership with SUBEB, that's the Lagos State Universal Board, those that are in charge of the public primary school in Lagos State. it was just an invitation to one of our events that we just said, okay, let's just have governor partners in our event. And then coming down there, they're seeing what we do, seeing how we engage the other schools, the private schools. And then they're like, oh no, this actually is a good thing. That was our word. You are doing good. So why don't you just reach out to all the children in the state? And so I feel like, and also the quality of our work actually facilitated, let me say, fast track the approval of all our 4 storybooks in Lagos State. So that's one thing we should know, that yes, we are actually doing something good. Our results and corruption, Star Award winners, all our evaluation data analysis has actually showed that, oh yes, what we're doing is having a change in attitude and behavior of these children. So this is one key lesson learned that we should take forward to next year, and then try to just do better and have more impact. Thank you.
Zainab, what lessons did you learn in 2021?
Thanks. Thank you, Vanessa. I think one of the key things that really stood out for me when we're having our our staff retreat at the end of the year was that there's no one way to engage our key stakeholders across states. It calls for a contextualized approach to how we engage stakeholders. So, for instance, Martha just talked about how they engage stakeholders in Lagos, and that would be different for other states. Now that we're looking out to go into more states beyond the states, that we're increasing the number of states that we're engaging, potentially is going to increase next year. It's something that we've now taken note of and we're going to be applying. So for each state, we need to, before we start even approaching partners, government partners, schools, private sector, we have to do some sort of research to find out what works best within their context, and then adapt our approach to reflect that. We've always done this. Typically how we go into states is to have, or how we engage stakeholders is to help them sort of own the project, feel like they're part of the project, and that has worked fantastically for us. But to build on that relationship, to strengthen those relationships, those partnerships, it's important to know what stakeholders prefer within their different states. Is it getting invited to our events? Is it follow up, via phone calls? Is it courtesy visit to your offices? What works best for you within your own context? So we'll take note of that as well. And because stakeholders are really important to our work, for institutionalization, we need our government partners. We need to work with at the school level as well. So all of our stakeholders are quite important. So it's really important to know what works best for them and to deploy accordingly. So that's one lesson that I've taken note of. And going forward, we're going to sort of strategize better on how to engage with them. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Zainab. David.
One personal lesson for me, and I know this also is what Step Up also learned, was how adaptive we had to become based on all of the things that happened, the pandemic, the adverse result or effect of the pandemic, the ban here and there, the insurgency, insecurities. I'll say we learned to be very much adaptive, and that spurred us to be very proactive. And it led to a lot. And another key point or a key lesson I'll say we learned is the fight for corruption doesn't just end with what we can do, is how we can get more people to join our cause. Zainab highlighted that, some of us highlighted all of those things. And that led to us bringing on board, which will be coming up next year, actively next year, is the Parents Anti-Corruption Initiative. Now, we learned that we can go to the schools, the teachers can teach these students in the schools, but then they go home and still get to talk with their parents who might not have the mindset of curbing corruption as it is. And that's a very key lesson I think we learned. And then moving forward, I know that that would be very much effective. Another thing we also learned this year was that it's not a one cap fits all. Individual communities, individual persons and all of that need to actually know their pain points. And that's led us to watchdog initiative where we had focus group discussions with some communities in Nigeria, some rural communities in Nigeria, in order to know exactly what their problems were. We're focusing on the health challenges that they had. And it was interesting that we found out that most of them had unique concerns. Some of them said, oh, healthcare was perfect. Another said it wasn't. So that gave us an insight to understand that each community has each pain point, and we needed to know exactly how to adjust and how to help them out. Also, Zainab highlighted the point where we leverage partnerships within key government officials and then these communities. And that also taught us that we need these people to actually come up and fight for their causes. And I think those were practical, important lessons that we learned last year. And we're looking forward to having them in full-fledged next year. And I'll say, yes, that's some of the lessons that I learned, and I know that Step Up as an organization learned as well. Thank you.
I'm really, really excited for the next year, all of the preparations, all of the plans. I'm really excited. Nike.
All right, thank you, Vanessa. For me, what we've learned, or I would put it this way, one key thing that Step Up Nigeria is big on is participatory model as an approach to engage all our stakeholders, and everybody has said it really. We don't just use one way to approach things. We instead understand our targeted communities or our target beneficiaries and hear them and get their feedback. So in the past years, we've been able to be doing that, and I would say that this year majorly, we're able to develop targeted solutions. Even we adjusted a whole lot of our things to boils down to our M&E. We had to adjust it so that it can actually suit. It will help us to effectively measure our impact and to suit the kind of impact that we want to see as in from our beneficiaries. And one targeted solutions that came out of our work, which we started this year, is the Step Up Integrity Certification Program. It wasn't just an idea that came up, even though it's a brilliant idea. I mean, that's it was, yeah, it's a creative idea and all that, but it was born out of what we heard our beneficiaries said that they want. So it was born out of listening to our teachers, listening to our stakeholders, our school owners, the government sides, all our stakeholders, listening to them, doing regular feedback review meetings and hearing them out. So that was what inspired the creation of this. And when it was launched, it was like something that they've all been waiting for, and everyone was excited about it. So that was a very targeted solution. And like I said, this is part of Step Up Nigeria participatory model. So I am looking forward to more kind of inspiring and great solutions that we're going to come up with in the nearest year as well, where we'll start hearing more feedback based on what we're currently doing, but based on what we've done this year, that will inspire us to do bigger and greater initiatives, or create bigger initiatives that would eventually help us to achieve our key vision, which is to reduce corruption in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you. Providing solutions to problems. Thank you so much. Halima.
Thank you, Vanessa. So I would say one of the key lessons we learned was that consistent follow-up on our beneficiaries helps us capture results and evidences, and that has showed in our anti-corruption star awards. So for Step Up Nigeria, what we're doing is even after we've engaged children and schools, we just don't leave them alone. We go, we follow up, we see how teachers are teaching, we see what children are doing to take actions against corruption. And that actually has showed in our anti-corruption champions. We've had more children this year that had actually taken actions to stop one act of corruption or the other in their various communities. And that has showed that what we're actually doing is working, and it's a key way to monitor what the children are actually doing. One other thing I also think we learned was partnership. Partnership is really, really good. Like, it has helped us in reaching, Pineapple TV has helped us in reaching more children. We've gone to schools where they have even watched the Maker's Money and Halima's Voice on the TV. And we've gone to schools where they've listened to it on radios. And so we're also just telling you that we are looking forward to partnering with our membership is open. We're looking forward to partner with so many organizations in the coming year to reach more children, to be able to speak to more children, both online and offline. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you so much. So any other additions? Anybody has anything else to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna add that I also think because of COVID and we had to start a lot of remote and virtual working, it was interesting how all the events we held this year were hybrid events. So yeah, the learning is adapting technology to ensure successful events, because we work in multiple states, we have stakeholders in different states, and rather than fly everybody down from the various locations that we work, we're able to ensure that our stakeholders were able to still key into our work, participate in our events from their different locations through using technology like this. So we had successful hybrid events by utilizing technology to improve our interactions with our stakeholders. I think that was a lesson we learned as well.
Thank you all so much. You've all heard from the team members, you've heard from members of Step Up Nigeria, how we are creating public awareness, how we're trying to build bridges to provide solutions, to tackle corruption, to advocate for anti-corruption, to create a culture of integrity in schools, and not just in schools, in workplaces, in organizations. And this is really noble work that Step Up Nigeria is doing, and I will say that I am happy to be a part of this platform. Are you all not happy to be a part of this platform?
We are.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you can follow us on our social media handles on Twitter and on Instagram at step_up_Nigeria, and on our Facebook and LinkedIn at Step Up Nigeria. You can view our YouTube channel on Step Up TV. Thank you all so much for joining me on this podcast. It's been an enlightening session. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.